So I just want to welcome you all here for this evening in this most beautiful, decadent and opulent surroundings here that we have in the Mansion House. So for the book launch from Michael Daly, The 6 Traits of Self-Leadership. So I hope we're all going to having a lovely time here at the moment, are we? Yes, sure, why wouldn't we be? So when Michael gave me his first, the book, I had a read through and it was phenomenal. So I was having a read through, had a conversation with Michael afterwards, filled me in, and we had a good old banter about it. But the one question I asked him, and he wasn't really ready for it, was, Michael E. Daly. I says, tell me about that. Now, he may or may not forgive me for this story. So I said, E. Daly, after all of everything else, this is what you want to ask me. I said, yeah, I said, I'm an inquisitive kind of person. That's what I want to know. So he said, it's Ernest. So a few people may or may not know that in the room, apart from his good mammy in the front here. Now, I did say to him, well, I do think it's an appropriate name. Glad she called you Michael first. But I do think that name really resonates with who Michael is as a person. I think he's honourable, sincere, authentic. And that's what I find resonates throughout all of this book for him. So I just would want to give it a quick round of applause for Michael. Now, I'm very lucky and I'm delighted to be able to welcome Sean O'Keefe from Liberty Press, here to my left. He has done amazing work in publishing some phenomenal Irish writers throughout the years. And Bob Geldof affectionately called them the Rebel Liberty Press. So if you wouldn't mind welcoming on stage Sean O'Keefe.
Thanks very much, Alison, and lovely to see you all. I was delighted to be asked by Michael to say a few words this evening. I thought I'd say that two days ago, I think, Solar Bones by Mike McCormick won the Dublin Impact Award, a very big literary prize in this very room. So I hope some of that good luck rubs off on Michael for future books. I think the key point with Mike McCormick is that book wasn't his first or his second book, it was his fifth book. I think 3 novels and 2 collections of short stories. So as the saying goes, it takes years to become an overnight success. And I think there's something in that for everybody. It's been a pleasure to work with Michael over the past year or more. He's been very professional and supportive. And this is a fantastic book, which we'll hear more about in a few moments. And I'm delighted that Liberty Press will be publishing Michael's second book, Conversations in Singapore, which will be coming out next year. So I hope you look out for that one as well. So I'd just like to wish Michael all the best with this book and future books and endeavours. And thank you very much for asking me.
Thanks indeed, Sean. Next, I have the absolute delight to introduce Councillor Vincent Jackson. So Vincent is a former Lord Mayor, so he knows every inch of this house. If anybody's lost, we know where to go and ask. But he's done phenomenal work in his area from Ballyfermot himself. So he's born and reared out that way and served his community for the last 20 years. He's incredibly passionate for people and for service. Again, self-serving, self-leader himself. So could we all just give him a good warm welcome on stage? Thank you.
Thanks, Alison, and everybody here is very welcome to the Mansion House tonight, and particularly Michael Daly and his beautiful mother there as well. You're very, very welcome, Mrs. Daly, here tonight. As Alison said, this is a beautiful venue, and it's a venue that belongs to the citizens of Dublin. And I was one of those very lucky people 28 years ago to put my name forward for public office and have been elected subsequently on every election as an independent. And I want to particularly acknowledge one of my Dr. Dála members here tonight, Deputy Pat Deering, and you're very welcome here tonight. And Michael tells me great things about you, how you supported him over the years when he was working down there in Carlow, doing some work and everything else like that. But tonight is about Michael, and it's about acknowledging the huge amount of work. And when our colleague from Liberty Press spoke there, I had the pleasure as chairperson of the Arts, Culture and Leisure SPC last night to be at the gala dinner and sitting with Mike McCormick last night and talking about the wonderful prize, the richest literary prize in the world, €100,000 that Dublin City Council is very proud to sponsor. And I have to say, I wish Michael was getting this tonight, but unfortunately I don't have €100,000 to give you. But as was said there, great things come from the acorn seed. And, you know, every opportunity somebody gets to publish, very few people get to publish a book. And I hope and I pray that the book will go from success to success. It's a very, very keen topic in the modern world we live in. It's about leadership. It's about the traits of leadership and how we can encourage people to be good leaders in their community and never lose sight of the fact that the one thing that leaders should always put is put others at the forefront of everything they do. Some people go through their life in the possession of material things and wealth, and all too often they find at the end of their journey of life that all they've possessed goes with them when they leave this world. And I had the pleasure, I was just saying to your mother there, and my aunt died a few months ago. She was 106 years of age. And she was born before the Titanic sunk, and she was in here every couple of months at different things. And I remember after her 100th birthday, I was elected Lord Mayor just before she was 96 years of age. And I used to bring her in here every day on her birthday. And one of the Lord Mayors a couple of years ago, Oisin Quinn, said, "You're very welcome to the Mansion House." And I'd be trying to make a big day of it for my aunt. And she turned around and she says, "I've been in here loads of times," she says. But listen, tonight is about Mick. And I have to say, I'm very proud that so many people have come to this book launch here tonight. And whilst you are here, I hope you all buy a copy of the book. That's very important as well, I have to say. Now, I've been given a copy here by Alison. But can I just say that Mick is one of those real nice guys. I was talking to Eddie Darcy, a great friend of ours, over the last couple of weeks about another matter. And Eddie was talking about tonight's event. And he said he's such a genuine person. And that's what you are, Mick. You're a genuine human being. And the world, unfortunately, sometimes doesn't reward the genuine people. We do sometimes in life have an opportunity to acknowledge the huge contribution people make. And when I was talking to Mike McCormick last night, he was talking about when he heard about winning the prize. And it was this room yesterday morning, round room next door, that he was told he knew for the last 3 weeks, because I asked him, when did you know? I didn't even know, and I chaired the Arts, Culture and Leisure SBC. But a few people knew, and obviously his publishers. And just to say, when he was told he had won, he was standing at a bus stop in Galway. He went home. He said he couldn't believe it. He went up the passage of the garden and he seen his wife through the window. He went in and told her, he says, "Geez, I don't know whether I'm dreaming or what." So he rang the publisher again, and they said, "Yes, you did win." And his wife then interceded. And she said, "Listen, will they send a text message to that effect?" They were so unsure they had won. But it's great. Irish authors, Irish publisher, and, you know, it's the 4th Irish winner we've had of the... It used to be called the Impact Dublin Literary Award. It's now the Dublin Literary Award, because we don't have a sponsor. And I think that's probably a very fitting thing to have the richest prize in the world. But listen, tonight is about Mick. This is a great process here, a great product. A lot of work has gone into this. I hope it goes from success to success. I hope we all bring the seeds of this book with us tonight when we leave the Mansion House. And we leave the memory of the book with lots of people who are influential out there, because we do need leaders. In every organisation we need leaders. We need leaders, as I say, who has that extra little gilt edge, and that's the one about having compassion and empathy and integrity, and that's unfortunately sometimes lost in the realm of life. You're in a room now that this house was bought by Dublin City Council, Dublin Corporation in 1750, and so we're 303 years on the make now here in the Mansion House. It's the oldest continuously lived in house in Dublin, and the practice of the coat of arms started in 1841 with Daniel O'Connell, who got Catholic emancipation in 1829. And this is the last legacy that Joshua Dawson, who gives his name to the street outside, he was told by Dublin Corporation it was a requirement of the purchase of the house that he would build a formal room for the house, and this is what was constructed. The lovely round room that's unfortunately is a venue next door, a venue for the Fire Restaurant next door, built in 1821 for the visit of George V. And just tell you a little bit of history about this lovely house. And for some of the older members here, Eddie, you might remember this, sorry. The old Metropole Cinema in O'Connell Street, they were the chandeliers that used to hang from the Metropole, where the Penny's department store is now next to Eason's. So we've done a bit of salvage over the years, and we get an opportunity to buy this and that. But listen, you're all very welcome here. I hope, as I say, Mick, the crowd here is an indication of the esteem they hold you in. And I have to say, as somebody who I call a friend for many, many years, we've gone through a lot of things over the years, yourself, Eddie and myself, and we've come through the other end. And you know, life is what a wonderful journey for all of us to embark on. And anything that goes wrong in life, Remember, you wake up tomorrow, and when the sun comes out, it's another day, and it's another opportunity to make your mark. And if you do it with a willing heart, and you do it with the compassion and the empathy that those around you can be part and parcel of that journey of life, that's a very important thing, because we're not little islands on our own. But well done, and Alison, well done to you as well, and all the team, and at Liberty Press, for putting their faith in Mick. And as I say, I hope that faith is justifiably rewarded. Well done to all concerned.
Fantastic words as always, Glenn. Thanks a million. Okay, so without further ado, I think it's time to call upon the man of the hour, Michael Daly. So please join me in giving him a warm welcome. Michael Daly.
Just a quick question, Vincent. Did Michael's wife did she say send a cheque or send a text? No, she said
She was happy with the cheque.
she was happy with the cheque after the text.
She was there last night as well.
So once the text was sent, the cheque was spent. Is that what it was? Okay. Folks, look, my heartfelt thanks for being here tonight. I see so many great faces and so many good faces, and I'll leave the thanks to the end, I suppose, in terms of launching a book. You're expected to talk about the book, and I thought about that on the way in, and so many people have asked me, how did you end up writing a book? And I don't think they meant how did you, Michael Daly, end up writing a book. So how do you end up writing a book? And that brought me back to the story of how I ended up being here tonight. It's a very quick story, and I'd like to just share with you very, very fast. It all started with an invitation to travel to a university in Germany, where I was asked to work with a group of people who had been identified as leaders. So, Germany, leadership, I thought that was a bit of a challenge. You know, so a bit of a history there, travelling over from Ireland. Travelled over anyway, and a group of young people, some old people, different ages, and he says, right, tell us about leadership in Ireland. And I kind of said, well, what kind of leadership do you want to talk about? And they basically said, well, you know, we're here, we studied the Nelson Mandelas, we've studied the Gandhis, you know, we don't really want to talk about them. So then we had a week, I had a whole course prepared on this. And he said, you know what we want to talk about? We want to talk about leaders that we know, that aren't known out there. Leaders that are making a difference in their lives, their communities, their families, their jobs. So we spent a week looking at that. And they all, at the end of the week, had to have identified a person that had an impact on their lives, but yet someone that wasn't known to us. So we worked hard, Germans, everything was on time. We made sure we got everything done by the end, because we had to present this at the end of the week. Got to Thursday, and very simply, they'd all identified one person that had a huge impact. Someone from their families, someone from their communities, someone who they got to work with. And we delved into it, and at the end of it, we identified 6 things that they all had in common. And they were the 6 traits as we identified as the self-leader. And on that Thursday, I said, like, okay, here's a challenge. You've all identified a person. Will you now go and tell that person that you spent a week talking about them? Will you now go and tell that person what they have meant to you and the impact that they have had on your lives? So and then next thing, there was a few tears. Genuinely, perfect time. That's what I tell you. What had happened was, there was a young woman there who had identified her mother, and her mother had passed away. So we came out of ourselves very, very quickly. How are we going to honour that woman for being the leader she was, that had her daughter in this university, identified as being a leader, who was someone who was going to go on to bigger and better things, who was going to contribute. So we agreed to a person that, everyone would go off and talk to people. They would go off to that person, either do it on the phone or do it in person if possible. And what we would do for that young lady is, we would honour her mother by taking 15 minutes out of ourselves that evening. And what we would do is read a poem, listen to a bit of music, light a candle, whatever it was, but we would honour her mother. And the rest of them then had to go on and honour who they had identified. Now I went home that night and I said, that's great. Now the only thing is, I have to come back in the next day with all this wrapped up. That was cool. But as I was going through the 6 traits, something was going on. And I could identify a person that I knew in my own life that very easily slotted into them traits. They could very, very easily slot into them. So in the end, going to bed quite late, I'd identified 6 people. Now the only thing was, having challenged them, surely they would challenge me to then go and tell the 6 that had come to me. And the beauty of it was, only 2 of them are in Ireland. 2 were in England, 1 was in America, and 1 was in Australia. The passport was in date. I was looking forward to the challenge the next day. So this is going to be the easiest challenge. So I arrived in the next day, and a very emotional day, as you can imagine. They went out and told people the impact that they had had, very genuinely, very honestly. And some of the people said, you know what, this is the very thing I needed. I needed someone to tell me this, not for the want of it, but because something Vincent said, they were genuine, they were doing what needed to be done, but they had never been honoured, and they never would be honoured, and neither did they want to be honoured, certainly not in the public domain. They wanted to get on quietly, nicely in their own lives. So then what happened was, I was waiting for my challenge, and it never came. So I explained to them I'd identified these 6 people. I thought, you can't get any, I know there's differences in language, I couldn't get any clearer. And they said, no, Michael, we have a different challenge for you. You can go and tell them 6, but that's up to yourself. Our challenge is you take what you've learned and what we've learned here, and you bring it somewhere else. That was the end of our course, end of our time together. And the first person I met when I walked out of that room was a woman called Grażyna O'Sullivan, a Polish woman married to a man from Cork. And I was telling her this story, and she says, well, do you know what you'll do? You'll come to Poland and you'll teach the story here. So not long after, I found myself in Poland, given the same course again, based on the one that we'd done in Germany. Same format, got to the Thursday, gave them the challenge. I laid it on thick and heavy that I had been challenged to come here. I still had these 6 people, and surely the challenge would be to go and see them. So they went home that day, that night, spoke to the people, again, quite emotional, people who were shocked to realise the impact that they'd had on their lives. Got them to stand back and look at, you know what, I am involved in a club, and I do play my part. And when I do play my part in that club, the community in which I'm living is bigger and better for that, doing it nice and quietly. Some people talked about the impact they had on their jobs and in their work and in tough environments, and how that was going for them. They came back in on the Friday, explained again how good it was for them and how good it was for the other person, to be recognised and honoured and told, often not told. But the challenge didn't come again. There was no, they said, Mike, you want to go and tell them 6, you go do that. But our challenge for you is, very simply and very clearly, the university bring out a publication. We want you to write what happened here this week in that publication. So I did. I went back to Ireland, wrote what happened that week, and then, like all things, I'm not an academic. This is for a university publication. So very simply, very, very simply, I sent it to a friend in England who was a writer, just to have a look over that. And 3 days later, the phone rings. It's him. I said, surprising. Picked up the phone, and all he said was, there's a book in that, go write it. And hung up. So that's when I sat down and started to write the book. And that's when the book came out. That's how it, 4 years later. And I suppose, like in terms of the 6 traits, they're in the book. I don't think people want me to go through them. They're really through. I can just pick out one maybe, very clearly, that resonated through all 6 of them. Through all 6 of them had this more. At different times in their lives, the traits worked in different ways for them. But the one that they all had was they had a vision. They had a vision of a life that was better than the one they were living. It was a vision of a community better than the one that they were living in. It was a vision of a neighbourhood better than the neighbourhood they were living in. And in actual fact, it was a vision for a society better than the one they were living in. And really what made them was they thought big, but they acted small. They acted small in their own way and made their lives and those around them better. And I'll just finish with one story from the book if I can. It's the story of an actor, very, very famous actor, who was at the top of his game. And I'll finish on this now. He was at the top of his game, and every day at 3 o'clock during the film of a really big budget film, he'd go missing. He'd go missing at 3 o'clock, regardless of what was going on, and he'd come back at 5 o'clock. And this happened every day with untold cost to the production, untold hassle to the director, and untold annoyance to his fellow actors. But no matter what happened, he went, and he was so big they couldn't challenge him. Film finished, he got done what needed to be done. They were having end of party production. So there they are having their party. And the director finally mustered up enough courage to say, I'm never going to work with this guy again anyway. Actually, I don't want to work with this guy again. Well, he didn't until he heard the story. So he sat down with him and he said, look, you went every day. I fully understand that. It's over now. What was going on? What was happening? And he says, well, it's very simple, he said. My father promised me that he would go fishing when he retired. That the two of us would end up being great fishermen, great fishers. We would go fishing, we would do a lot of fishing, and we would have a great time together. His father died before he retired. He never got to go fishing. And the actor said, I ain't making the same mistake. So every day I now go fishing, regardless of what's going on around me. And I think that was the one thing that bound all the people who were on them courses. They weren't prepared to put off what it was that needed to be done to make their lives and their communities and their places of work better places for another day. And that's what made them self-leaders. Garamila Moila, thanks very much. Thank you. Thank you.